Welcome to this modding tutorial for Barotrauma. Timestamps have been added for your convenience. In this episode, I'll do an example of an Affliction, a ranged weapon, and a melee weapon, explaining the most important parts of the edits, and finally, I'll add them into the game using a file list and export it into the workshop. Let's first do the folders for the mod. Make sure it is as unique as possible to avoid conflicts with other mods. Then, I'm going to organize what I'll add, which are some afflictions and weapons. Then, create the XMLs and place the textures. Before I start adding the items, I first create the items block. This is very important and you must do this for your mod to work. For the ranged taser, I decide to use the SMG as my template because I'm also going to use the magazines. So I need to copy the SMG, their mags, and the bullets. The SMG handles the weapon itself, the magazine the bullets, and the bullets the damage. For the weapon, I edit its name, ID, price, and sell locations. I don't want it to be purchasable, so I just add sold equals face in all of the stops. I also remove the deconstruct returns and reduce the time to 1. These right here are the path for the inventory icon and the world item respectively. There are two ways to call a path. Either start on the folder you are in right now by using the name of the file, or start at the root folder of Barotrauma and search what you need using this format. Source rect are the coordinates of the texture within the PNG file. Here's an example. The first digit is how many pixels to the right the game will look for a texture. The second digit is how much downwards it will be. And finally, the two digits are the width and the height, respectively. Slots control where the item can go when we carry it. Any means anywhere in the inventory, but not clothing. Right and left hand means we can hold the item within our hand's inventory. The plus symbol means that it will occupy all the slots that are linked by it. In this case, we want our weapon to be one-handed, so we replace the plus with a comma. The rest of this line controls how we hold the item. As it is a one-handed item, I recommend you removing handle 2, as it controls how the left hand will hold the item. When handle 2 is removed, then both hands use the same parameter that handle 1 has. The most important part to know about ranged weapons right now is reload, which controls how much you must wait for the weapon to fire again. The final thing I'm going to change is the item the weapon can contain, so it accepts my custom mag instead of the SMGs. I do a very similar process for the magazine, change the name, ID, icon and sprite paths, and very importantly, the bullet it contains. Same drill with the bullet, change its name and ID. In the attack block, I changed the Afflictions to just the one that I want, and this one is going to be my own custom. Speaking of custom Afflictions, here's how you can make your own. Do something very similar to the weapons. In the Afflictions XML, add the main block Afflictions, and inside of it, paste whatever Affliction you want to use as a base. Don't be confused by how this looks. All of this is just the one line that has been broken into pieces for convenience. You still need to close it as you would normally. Change the name, ID, description. The show item threshold is just how many stacks of the affliction you need for its icon to show to the afflicted. I want everyone to know what's happened to them, so I'll leave this to 0. You can alternatively delete it and it would have the same effect. After that, I change how it behaves. When it has a strength of lower than 6, it will increase and slow the victims by the shown amount. And when it's higher than 6, but lower than 10, it will stun. Finally, when it reaches 11, the affliction will delete itself. Worth noting, the strength change is how much the affliction is gained or lost per second. I use this huge negative value at the end to ensure it will remove itself. I also want to add a standard old-fashioned melee taser. Same thing as before, paste your base as a new item, change the basic stuff, and you are golden. Just something to note, I use the melee weapon block instead of the ranged weapon block. This is because the taser is going to not use a projectile, it's just going to fling itself. This has its own properties, but are still easy to understand when you read them thoroughly. Also, I want the magazine and the taser itself to be able to be charged at a charging dock. This is done by adding the tag loadable to the items. One of the final steps is to add it into the game. For this, you'll need a file list. You can grab a template from Barotrauma's official tutorial or another mod. Just remember to change the name, ID, and most importantly, remove the Steam Workshop ID and install time. These are done automatically and you do not want them when you boot up your game. Then, change the paths to find all of your XMLs. Images can be done later using the in-game workshop uploader. Before uploading it to the workshop, do some tests and make sure that it works as you want it to and fix any bugs that come along. The console will help you out finding out where you messed up. Usually, your game won't crash, but if it does, try to see where it crashed, what were you doing, etc. These are clues that will lead you to the error. Once all of that is done, it's time to upload. In-game, head over the Steam Workshop option and move to the Publish item. Then, select your mod and fill in the details. Select the image files that we didn't add. Set a thumbnail, add a description, set its private settings, and you are done. Your mod is now in the workshop. This episode is most likely the longest one, and I hope it helped you at making a mod. In the next one, I'll help you out on the basics of the creature editor. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you enjoyed it, consider subscribing for similar content. Have a fantastic day.